Good morning and Boker Tov. On Friday, we watched a showdown between President Trump and Vladimir Zelensky. And fascinatingly, one of the topics of contention in the Oval Office in front of millions and millions of viewers was the dress code of President Zelensky, where President Trump and Vice President Vance said to him, "Why don't you dress like a human being? Put on a suit when you come to the Oval Office." And Zelensky's response was, "After the war, I'll put on a costume like you." And the question is, who's right? President Trump and Vice President Vance say, "Listen, you're coming to the Oval Office, you got to dress appropriately. You don't walk in here with a t-shirt like this." And Zelensky says, "I don't need a costume. You're just dressing up." And the question is, are clothing important? And there couldn't be a better week to discuss it than this week's Torah portion. Because this week's Torah portion is entirely about the Bigdei Kunah, the priestly garments. When the Kohen served in the temple, he had to wear special garments. An ordinary Kohen had 4 special garments. The high priest had 8 special garments. And the Torah delineates in great detail exactly how every one of these garments should look and how they should be manufactured. And so much so, the Jewish law says that a Kohen who performs his duty in the temple, without the garments that he's supposed to wear, the entire service is invalid. And the question is garments really that important? We say in America, clothing make the man. But sometimes clothing fake the man. You could see a criminal in a courtroom. He could be a murderer, but he's wearing a suit and a tie. If you met him on the street, you would think he's a distinguished person. After all, what importance does clothing have? It's who you are, not your garments. But on the other hand, we see in Jewish law, there's a law that says in honor of Shabbat and holidays, you have to wear special, beautiful clothing. Your nicest clothing should be designated for Shabbat. But then, once again, common sense dictates. You wouldn't show up at a wedding with a t-shirt and jeans. Why? And the answer, obviously, is that while garments is not what makes the person, it reminds the person that they're a human being. You see, one of the fundamental differences between a human and an animal is that animals don't wear clothing. A human being wears clothing, which reminds them of their human dignity. And the nicer the clothing are, the more beautiful, the more it reminds them of their inner beauty, which is their godly soul, which makes them in the divine image. And that's why garments are important. As a matter of fact, all of creation in Genesis is described in 31 verses. The 10 Commandments are described in 14 verses. But this week's Torah portion has 43 verses designated to the importance of garments. But that doesn't mean that garments in and of itself have importance. It means that when we act in a dignified manner, our garments accentuate and reveal our inner beauty, our inner humanity, our inner dignity. And that is why when you go back to the story of Adam and Eve, at first they were naked. But once they sinned, God said, make garments. Make garments to remind yourself of your human dignity, so that when you have this inner struggle between good and bad, you'll remember that you're not an animal. You're not like the snake. You have to have free will and choose to act according to your divine higher image. But Chassidut explains something very beautiful. Just like there are physical clothing, there are spiritual clothing. What are the spiritual clothing of the soul? Your thoughts, speech, and action. The more beautiful your thoughts, speech, and actions are, the more beautiful your soul is. And there's 2 profound lessons here. Number 1, that just like if you don't like your clothing one day, or you have a stain on your clothing, you got it dirty, no big deal. You take it off and you put on a new shirt. Same thing is with your thoughts, speech, and actions. Don't think, this is who I am, these are my thoughts, these are my words. No, they're like garments. If you're not happy with the way you look in your garments, you exchange it for a nicer pair of garments. Even your thoughts can be exchanged for better thoughts. You have control over that. Surely your speech and surely your actions. But one step further. Your words everyone hears. Your actions everyone sees. But your thoughts no one knows. And the point once again is that yes, your thoughts are a garment. but it's a garment that no one can see, but you know what your thoughts are. And they affect you most intimately. Your thoughts impact you even more than your words and your actions. And therefore, remember, your garments is not to impress others, to fake the man, but to make the man, to make you the best version of yourself. When we were in Israel, we went around to visit hostages, but in the evening we went to an army base to make a barbecue for the soldiers. And we went to a very high unit, a special unit, special forces, the unit that the movie Fauda was built on. And they go into villages late at night to apprehend and arrest terrorists. And I was reminded of what the Talmud says, when it says that God made for Adam and Eve katnot or, which literally means garments made out of or, skin. But the same word or with an ayin couldn't be phonetically sounded or written with an aleph. And then it doesn't mean garments of skin, out of skin hide, but made out of garments of light. The Talmud says there was a great rabbi by the name of Rabbi, and in his Torah, it didn't say that God made garments of skin. God made garments of or with an aleph, light, meaning to say the garments that will reveal the light of man. And when we were at this army base, one of the things they told us is how they go late at night into villages in the West Bank to arrest terrorists. And when they want to go in the middle of the night, they want to be undercover. They don't want anyone to see them, so they go without their headlights in pitch dark. So what do? They showed us they have night vision goggles. And they said, would you like to see how it works? We said, sure. And so they took us into an armored vehicle, and they took us into a very dark, pitch dark field with a road in it. And then they said, put on your night vision goggles. And suddenly, although it's pitch dark outside, you can't see in front of yourself. The whole area is lit up through the night vision goggles. And this soldier started to drive 30, 40, 50 miles an hour, flying down this road in pitch dark, but he had clear vision. And I said, this is what it means, garments of light. Our garments have to come from within, our thoughts, our speech, and our actions. And then even if we're surrounded in darkness, we have that inner light radiating outward. That's the power of a human soul, that its light is so bright that it can guide them, even in the darkness. Yes, we have dignified clothing to honor God and to honor other people on special occasions, like Shabbat or weddings or bar mitzvahs. We put on nice clothing. But most importantly, our thoughts and speech and our actions have to be beautiful and filled with light. Have a wonderful day.